Welcome to the 36th Annual Wineglass Marathon Special. I'm your host, Frank Akam, and I'm being joined by Sheila Sutton and Chris Sharkey. Thanks so much for joining us again.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Now, please tell us, how many years have you been involved with the marathons?
I've been since 2009 in one capacity or another.
And I joined in 2012. So
Now, how have things shaped up for this year?
Incredible.
yeah, we've got record registration. We one of the signatures of our race is we take a lot of feedback from everybody, from runners, from spectators, from law enforcement, and we make a lot of changes and try and step it up every year. So we're really excited for this year.
After having a week of 90-degree weather and the weekend before leading into our event, it's looking like great weather, running weather, and the runners are excited about that, as we are.
And here we look at the course. You mentioned weather a little bit earlier on when we first started talking. Obviously, a very foggy morning.
Yes, the temperatures were hovering right around freezing, which made for a nice cool start, but also very foggy since the temperatures have been so warm. Foggy, as you can see right here, but perfect running weather. As the start, the runners took off, the sun was starting to peek through and blue sky, and
Yeah, you'll even see some of our law enforcement friends here along the course. The fog was so challenging, we actually, in busing people to the starts, we had some buses that missed the turn onto Mount Washington. And so while it was great, while it's great weather for runners here, it also presents a set of challenges.
it also makes it cool, a cooler day for the volunteers, which require different dress and awareness that we have to let them, make sure they're aware to dress properly.
And the runners turning onto Geneva Street right now.
Yeah, one of the things people may not realize with it being so cold, a lot of these runners keep warm clothing on right until the very last minute, and then they drop it. And so I am quite sure on a day like this, we're going to have truckloads of clothing going to the Salvation Army after this start, because runners obviously want to stay warm right till the gun goes off.
We actually have, for the full start, for clothing pickup, the Bath Kiwanis that will pick it up and donate it to Salvation Army or church group. And then in Painted the half start, we had the Painted Post Kiwanis that pick it all up, and it actually goes to one of the churches in Campbell. They wash it and donate it for their clothing drive, coat drive.
Now, how does this affect when we talk about dehydration? And obviously, you guys always provide water, Gatorade, things like that. Does it change a lot when the weather's cooler like this?
The runners tend to stop less or drink less, take goo less, and they're usually feeling much stronger, better. We have to plan for the worst case scenario, make sure we have enough cups for warmer weather and enough water and goo. This will be a best case scenario day.
Yeah, today we have about 110,000 cups out on the course, and we have 40,000 sitting ready, staged to go out if we run out. Because the challenge with an event like this is you can't run out of anything, because if you run out, you have no option. You can't resupply fast enough. So it'll be interesting. We both expect there's going to be a whole lot of water, cups, Gatorade, goo.
Well, now, what is goo? You keep saying goo. I'm not familiar with it.
Goo is a jelly packet of that's energy and food that the runners can easily digest and ingest while they're on the run. And we have 3 stations along the course that volunteers pass out to runners that need it.
Yeah, what you can see there is we have our sheriff's car leading, as well as a state police motorcycle. So those are the leaders of the full coming down Liberty Street in Bath. What you see in the yellow there are one of our 20 bike support folks that ride alongside the lead runners, make sure to clear the path as they start running into the the back of the half marathoners. But they also provide inspiration. They will stop, get off their bikes, help a runner stretch, keep people going. We just have the most amazing bike volunteers.
And they'll stick around for make sure the last walkers, runners make it into the finish line and are supported. This year we did something a little different. We did a full push for elite runners, advertising or posting on our website that we had, they could submit an application and get in. We actually have 40 total between the half and full, male and female, that requested entry and that went through the process and are in. So should be a fast day.
And now I've read that it's the sixth highest percentage of participants to qualify for the Boston Marathon. So that's what got to be one of the reasons that makes this so popular, right?
Absolutely. And actually with these temperatures, I think we're going to see a much higher percentage of Boston qualifiers and PRs, which is personal records, coming out of the day. It's ideal for that.
Well, in fact, when we saw the first male runner coming through here, he has told us he is looking to break the course record today, which has stood since, 19...
It's a good 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1997.
Yep.
And that was Andrew Hare that originally had that 1997. You're talking about Tim Chichester.
Yes, and he actually ran the half last year and broke the course record for it. So if he does that this year, he will hold the course record for the half and the full.
Now, I've got a question for you, and we were talking about this off air, but when you have these people with the signs in the background, what is that to someone like me that may not be aware?
So they're pace groups. When you are trying to qualify for Boston, you have a set time based on your age group and your gender, male or female, that a standard you need to meet, and they help get the runners to the finish line in that time. So that was a 3:05, I believe, and they will keep them through water stations all the way from the start to the finish line on pace to achieve that. They'll actually bring them in a little bit under. They'll talk to them the entire time, encourage them. A lot of our pacers have run with us before, and we'll tell them stories about the course.
All while they're running?
All while they're running.
Do they get credit for finishing the marathon?
Yeah, they do. They do. Amazing group, amazing talent to be able to do that. This year, too, the pace group set up a Facebook event, and we're answering questions for the runners and prepping them for this year's event.
Yeah, in fact, even if you're not qualifying for Boston, because you'll see signs coming through later on that are slower times, if people have a personal goal and are trying to set what we call their own PR, their own personal record. And so they will talk to the runners ahead of time, say, here's our strategy, because obviously you don't run every mile at exactly the same amount of time. So here's our race strategy. And it's really cool to see what the runners will come back with afterwards. You can see a big bunch going through there and say, I couldn't have done it without my pacer Jim, without my pacer, Nancy. That they really kept me going. And it's remarkable when they come across, because literally they are probably within 15 seconds of their assigned time.
Spot on.
It's a real skill. So here you see, anytime you'll see at this point coming on Liberty Street a big bunch, it's probably a pace group.
I see.
And the groups will lessen as the day goes on and the race as they get further on. But yeah, there's clearly large bunches that are shooting for certain times.
And sometimes it's just nice to run with a group of people who are about the same pace as you, and sort of keep the other runners in the group keep you going.
And again, you can see the fog hasn't totally rolled out of Bath yet. This is around mile 3 in Bath.
Yeah, the interesting thing today is that it's actually about 10 degrees warmer in Corning than it is in Bath. So...
We caught up with Megan Luckner of Bath, and we asked her, why do you enjoy running in the Wineglass Marathon?
This is my home here in Corning, so this is my favorite marathon. It's amazing. I would suggest the Wineglass Marathon to anybody. The crowd is so inspirational. It just gives you so much motivation seeing, your family, your friends. You haven't seen someone in 2 years and they see you, hey, Megan, great job. And also the course is so flat. There is probably 1-2 minor hills, and that finish is honestly, I have goosebumps right now just thinking about it because everyone's there, they're cheering, they're screaming, you just have so much energy, and it's just amazing. And what's not to love about the Corning area? It's beautiful.
More marathon right after this. Welcome back to the 36th annual Wineglass Marathon Special.
So there you see the course. It's a point-to-point course. We've had this same course for probably
Tim.
10 years. That's the guy trying to break the record, and as you can see, there aren't too many people staying with him at this point.
And that's Matt McWilliams there taking a drink. Now, this is one of the drink stations that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, this is right before Lake Salubria in front of the Bath Haverling Transportation Center. And we work year-round on the safety for the runners and on the course. And this was one of the sections that really got a lot of our attention this year along Lake Salubria from May Street to where they hit up 415 heading out of Bath headed towards Savona. And you'll see, I believe, some, the cones there allowing the runners to have more space than we've had in the past.
When you think about an event this size, you see some of them squeezing their cups to get a tighter flow going into their mouth. Actually, what cups we use, what size, what they're made of, is hugely important, because if you go with a stiff plastic cup and they throw them, runners are going to slip on them.
That's right. I didn't think of that.
How full you fill them, how full you fill them makes a difference. So, it's one of those events where every detail matters. There you see, we give all of our water stations rakes to rake the cups up, and
there's calculations for the number of runners, the number of cups needed, and the amount of water. So if they fill the cups too full with water, then we have the risk of running out of water.
This is a section of the course, actually, that is a change this year. It looks a little snug right through here, but farther down on Lake Salubria, these runners are going to have a lot more room than they've had in the past. So we have a double row of cones for cars, so that the runners get a little more room through here. So we'll see what runner feedback is on this section. Also, it's fantastic that this entire road was repaved this year. So it's less sloped on the side and nice smooth pavement.
And you mentioned that everybody's been praising the fact that this is a flat track. Everybody I've talked to, how does that compare to other races?
It all depends on where, Adirondacks, Poconos,
right.
Lake Placid, there's a few more hills. We just have the runners running in the valley with the mountains on the sides, and it just really is a flat, fast, few bumps, but really makes for a really nice, fast pace.
What you see at this water station, too, is you can see all the kids. That's something that's hugely helpful to us, because we have about 2,000 volunteers out here on the course this day, 750 at water stations along this route. And the runners actually love the community feel of this race. We have a lot of kids, a lot of school groups that have helped. While this is starting here, there is a whole team down in Corning building a finish line. About 3 blocks of Market Street made into basically the equivalent of a field hospital with a tent that's going to feed 6,000 people to, PTs and massage therapists ready to treat runners, and a lot of that work is done by school groups who come in and give us a hand.
The drone footage is awesome, including the picture of the drone. That's great.
Now, it goes without saying, but it wouldn't be possible without the volunteers.
Oh, heavens, no. And that's what, as Chris said, that's what makes it. There's a lot of things that lead up to the race. We have key volunteers that work with us year-round in ensuring that everything goes smoothly the day of the race. They captain certain areas, the water stations, the expo, and oversee those areas and the volunteers there. And in the end, it is close to 2,500 volunteers throughout the time. Law enforcement, Chris mentioned earlier, the bikers out on the course. Some of these folks come back year after year, and it really has become that if you're not running, you want to volunteer, you want to be part of it. The kids, college groups, school groups are always coming in and offering to help, and we really couldn't do it without them. We, at the full start, earlier had the Bath Haverling Academic All-Stars, and those kids are out there at 5 in the morning and just are phenomenal. At the finish line, like Chris said, the Corning Painted Post lacrosse team is out there at 4:30 in the morning setting up. That's pretty, on a Sunday morning when they could be sleeping in, that's a pretty strong testament to the teamwork that goes into this.
So we're coming into Savona now, and you can see things have, with the leaders, have really spread out. So, we'll see if these guys can hold on to this kind of lead. But, definitely that huge pack we saw going through from the start line is pretty spread out by the time we get to Savona.
We were talking earlier about hydration. Of course, it's a cooler day. But recently, 2 marathons canceled just, a week before this event because of heat. Explain that and how that affected the marathon this year.
Yeah, the Montreal Rock and Roll was the Sunday before, and the Adirondack Marathon was the Sunday before, and it was projected 90-degree weather and high humidity, and both ended up making the decision to cancel the marathon. We ended up reopening for a very short period of time the slots for the full marathon to accommodate anybody that was planning to do that and one of those races and weren't able to. They've trained for months and months and were ready. It's disappointing when that happens, but it's one thing we can't control is the weather. And we did end up seeing runners come in. We had runners that were in the half that switched to the full and took advantage of that.
Oh, that's the lead woman coming through there.
Marina Orson.
She's from Pennsylvania, I think.
And that's Andrew Denny. I think that was running with her.
The heat just becomes a complete safety issue, and if we had that kind of heat, we would have had to have some serious discussions, because at the Wineglass we get a lot of first-time marathoners. And there is a lot that goes into hydrating for a race in the heat. And, it's not something you can just start the day before. So we would have had a really difficult decision to make if we'd had that heat. But we don't. And we got a lot of, we should see some good times today.
Now, we've been talking about how the racers prepare for the race and prepare for marathon, but what does your typical race day look like?
It starts pretty early. I think most of us are up at 3:30 in the morning. Chris is overseeing the setup of the finish line area and the lacrosse team, and it really is moving a city and setting up a MASH unit and food tents and making sure everything is in place and on time. The lead half marathoners, because of the start time, they start a half hour before starts a half hour before the full. They're going to be coming in before 9 o'clock, and so everything has to, in a short period of time, be set and ready to go, and for those folks to come in. It's the buses, well oiled. We take our feedback and processes very serious, and making sure that everything runs smoothly, because one glitch can throw off the day.
Yeah, we moved the equivalent of half the population of Corning, so a good 5,500 people from Tioga Avenue in Corning up to one of the start lines in less than 2 hours.
Wow.
So that is, honestly, that is our biggest logistical challenge of the day, because that impacts, when we can get the race started. So we do a lot of work with the bus companies to make sure that we've got that nailed. But, in terms of the length of day, there are probably 5 or 6 of us on what we call the core team planning for this. And race day is about 3 a.m., as Sheila said, to 6 p.m. And we are on our feet all day, problem solving, following issues, getting resources aligned, everything from hearing that we've got a dead skunk at the start line earlier in the week. Every little thing. So it is a very long day. So having good weather just honestly helps us as well.
When there's a million moving pieces that go into this, little things happen. What we don't want is the runners to see those, and they don't in general. That's just us. So when Chris says, we're running around solving this or that, it's nothing in general major, but it's stuff that we handle and take serious and make sure everything's going smoothly, so it doesn't affect the runners and their race.
Yeah, it's funny because to all of us, it feels a little like organized chaos. But the feedback we get from runners is this is the best organized race we go to.
Let's go back to Megan Luckner from Bath as she tells us what's the most grueling part of running in a marathon.
It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of waking up early, a lot of long runs. I plan my training probably 3-4 months ahead of time. You have to be extremely organized. A marathon, really, you can't just wing it. You have got to plan it out week by week. I like to run roughly 50 miles a week, and then during peak time, and then slowly work my way back down to let my body ease itself, be able to rest. And like I said, you have to be extremely dedicated and determined. And honestly, training is, the majority of it is all mental. You have these hot summer days where you have got to do your 20-mile run, and you're telling yourself, oh, I can't do it now, it's so hot. No, absolutely not. You get out there and you do it, and by the end of it, you just have such a great sense of pride. So it pays off.
More from the 36th annual Wineglass Marathon after this. Welcome back to the 36th annual Wineglass Marathon special.
We've been in communities that don't like us. Everything is just laid out perfectly. And so it's always, it's a matter of perspective, because to us, we always think of, we're already, partway through the race, we're already thinking of things we need to change for next year. But like Sheila said, as far as the runners are concerned, they have a great day.
So we're coming out of Campbell now, headed to Tannery Hill Road, and that's Tim Chichester still in the lead with one of our lead bikers.
Yeah, he's got quite a lead there, but there's still a lot of race to go. So
now, I'm sure you're asked this all the time, but when does planning begin for next year?
Before we even hit the race day, actually, as we lead into it, there's a period of time where we won't change anything new, but we make notes for 2018, let's discuss this or do that. And there's an overlap after the race of cleaning up and reviewing 2017, but also planning for 2018. Registration opens December 1st. We really don't have time to let the grass grow,
right,
so to speak, under our feet. We have to get everything set, discuss some of the key pieces that we want to work on and look at, and get things ready to roll for folks to start registering.
Yeah, the other thing that we've got this year, it's not just about planning the race and looking at all the execution details. We actually need to find 2 new sponsors for 2018. Arnett Health, who has been our sponsor since 2011, is the presenting sponsor of the full marathon. This is their last year, the one we're watching now. And Dresser Rand, a Siemens business who's been with us in the half for the last 2 years, is also coming to the end of their agreement with us. So at the same time, we need to go out and find some new sponsors. And for us, it's not just about money. It's about finding the right partner where our marathon and half marathon are good for them, and they're good for us. So, we've got time invested there. There's the lead woman at this point. You can see the lead for both the men and the women in both races always have a biker with them.
Well, and with, as Chris said, the sponsors are important for multiple reasons, but it allows us also to continue to give back to the community and all the service groups that work with us and that's Andrew again, Dimity, and to support the water station folks and just endeavors in the community like that.
Yeah, last year I think we donated back to 45 different nonprofit groups that help us in one way or another on the course, on race day, leading up to race day. So we take what proceeds we have and donate them back, which just makes it a really nice kind of full circle kind of thing.
One of those is we started a scholarship fund for the graduating seniors, the high school. 6 recipients were awarded scholarships last year.
We actually have 3 high schools along the route, so that's Bath Haverling, Campbell Savona, and Corning Painted Post. So, and all of them help us in one way or another on race day, and so this is just an added bonus that we do scholarships for runners in those high schools. So when we printed those, I think the second year of recipients are in this year's program.
I like when we were looking at the video from downtown Savona, and you can see them in the background here, different locations. I love the community support, the signs. I look forward to that every year.
It's always fun to see what the different the classic sign for the year.
All very clever.
They are.
Some of them are just hilarious. In fact, there was one still stuck in the ground on the north side of Corning that was really really funny.
I was out driving sections of the course the night before this, Saturday night, and there were in chalk signs on the bike path in sections calling people out by name and other positive messages. It was fun.
So this is a great example of why we have bikers, because what you see now is the men's leader running into the slower half marathoners.
Oh, okay.
And what we have to have happen is those runners, especially Tim, who's on pace for a course record at this point, we want them having a nice clear path and not running into traffic there. So, our bikers have whistles and they keep an open path for them.
Right now they're going by the depot coming out off of Charles Street and Painted Post.
There's the museum, the depot.
And are along the bike path.
Yeah, this is a bike path actually that was widened a couple of years ago with donation, with support from the Wineglass Marathon. We paid for widening of that bike path and fixing a lot of areas. It went from 6 feet to 10 feet. So it was really nice because it's great not only for our runners, but also the community. I mean, it was so narrow in some places, you couldn't have somebody riding a bike and pushing a stroller in the same on the same path. Right. So it's it's kind of a real example of what we try and do as community partners for all the communities that put up with having streets closed, having to wait at intersections. It can be an inconvenience, and we try and recognize that and give something back to buffer that.
Well, I know in my talks with people in the community, it's always been so positive. What do you hear from the community and their response?
A lot of positive.
Good.
They recognize the impact to the area economically, the businesses on Market Street, area businesses outside of Market Street or Gafford District really notice a difference. We fill the hotels, the restaurants, the store shelves of pasta are usually empty the night before. Economically, it's around a $5 million boost to the area, and as Chris said, we understand it can be an inconvenience, but it's one day, and the runners love our town, Corning. They love the area, and they love our race. And it's great that so many people come out to welcome them.
Yeah, and this isn't just local runners that come here. I mean, we've got this year 49 states. Still waiting for South Dakota. 12 countries. We have a couple here. We haven't seen the half yet, but a couple who came from New Zealand to run the half with their daughter. So when these folks come in, we ask them actually this year in registration, how long are you staying? And they're staying a full day longer than we thought they were. They're staying 3 and 4 days in the community. And in that time, they're only running for a few hours. They are eating, shopping, enjoying everything these communities along the route have to offer.
We had a runner on the VIP bus for the full that's out there right now from Colombia, Taipei, Australia. They and as Chris said, the couple from New Zealand, when talking to them, they came specifically to run the half marathon from New Zealand, which is pretty awesome because of our reputation, which is great.
And it's a beautiful time of year here. I mean, the fall colors, the Finger Lakes. Of course, we can't manage the weather, but we can try. But in general, there are a lot of good things that sort of give us some wind at our back in making this a good experience. And of course, nobody does this better than we don't think than the Southern Finger Lakes.
Right. Right there, as the runners are coming around the corner, there you'll see somebody, a young lady in black, taking pictures. We actually have partnered. This is our second year partnering with the Corning Painted Post High School yearbook staff, and have the students stationed along the course taking pictures. Great experience, on the job training, so to speak, for them, and gives us a wide variety of perspectives. The photographers all have a different eye and a different view, and we'll get different shots than if we had a professional in one spot moving along the course. They love it, and we love to see what they get. Can't wait to see what we get from them this year.
Another great example of community involvement and everybody being involved in the volunteers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, we were talking about planning for the year. Has it become easier through the years, or is it always brand new, like starting from day one?
I think, certainly we have, the more experience we have, it doesn't become easier, but it feels more manageable. I think one thing that we do really well is we collect the most comprehensive, detailed feedback within a week after the race is done from everybody. So getting it while it's fresh, so that we know exactly what we have to do to improve. The challenge is 26.2 miles is a lot of ground to cover.
Now some more thoughts from runner Megan Luckner.
The year before my very first Wineglass Marathon, I was a volunteer, and that's what drove me to run the race. I mean, these people are amazing, and thank you guys so much for your time and your cheers and the water, obviously. That it's just, they are super motivational as well and super inspiring. I mean, I love when they get in my face and they're ringing their bells, and they're just amazing, amazing people.
More from the 36th Annual Wineglass Marathon after this. Welcome back to the 36th Annual Wineglass Marathon Special.
And we need a lot of help and eyes and ears out there saying where problem areas are and what we need to change to make it either safer, a better experience, or anything like that. So
here we're on the coming towards the end of the bike path, and as you can see, we had a sheriff's car plus a motorcycle, and the motorcycle is able to stay on the bike path naturally, and we have two bikers kind of in front and behind. At this point, it's Tim Chichester making sure, as you can see, the half marathoners are off to the side, and he's able to, the lead folks are able to move through here smoothly.
You mentioned earlier how it's really tough to find pasta over this weekend. Pasta can't be
Yes.
found anywhere. When you talk to the runners, how do they prepare the night before?
It depends. Some of them are joining us at our pasta dinner, and we'll get to hear Dave McGilvray, the race director for Boston. And this year we were lucky enough to have Bart Yazzo come back, and he'll be our finish line announcer and greeting the runners at the finish line. He absolutely adores our race. And so on Saturday night, he introduced Dave to that. They'll go with groups. They'll make sure, we hope, that they have their bibs and they're attached, and probably stressing a lot about the weather and what they're going to wear and toss or have checked at the finish line.
Yeah, when Sheila mentioned Bart Yasso, he's the chief, his title actually is Chief Running Officer for Runner's World magazine. He's really an American running legend. He has a huge Twitter following. I mean, it is very sought after to have your picture taken with Bart. And he discovered our race a few years ago. He's been here as our guest twice, and agreed to come back as a finish line announcer, which was really really great. So it gave us kind of a twofer with the Boston Marathon race director as well as Bart here together. In fact, during the expo on Friday, the cross country kids at Corning Painting Post High School had an opportunity they probably didn't appreciate yet, but when they look back, they'll say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I had that." Which is, they had Bart and Dave talking to them, sharing stories with them, just them for, I don't know, an hour and a half. So that is something not too many young runners get to have.
I did a race back in 2009 and met Bart then, and have been friends with him since, and pick his brain for things, and have become pretty good friends with Dave too. And we can always learn something from other races, and that's part of what I like to do, is see who's doing what, and if it's something that we can take back and use to improve how we're doing. Besides the feedback that we get from our core folks, it's also benchmarking other races. There's our lead female. She's still out there. I haven't seen anybody else coming up behind her.
And she's actually at this point not all that far behind sort of the top
lead
10
males.
men. Right.
We're talking about Marina Orson.
Right.
Now, we've talked about the community's response to the marathon. I've obviously worked on Market Street. I talked to a lot of the businesses, and they are thrilled with the response year after year.
Yeah, it took a little convincing, 5 or 6 years ago to let the restaurants know, hey, if you're normally closed on Sunday, you might want to open, because we're going to have a few thousand people down here. And now they're not only open, but they staff up. They order a tremendous quantity of food, so they really are ready and welcoming to the businesses, to the runners. We have a couple of businesses that they put gift cards in the runner bags for Connors and Pure Design, and that brings them down here. And obviously, when you come down, you don't come to just one store, you wander around a little bit. So we consistently have restaurants tell us this is their biggest weekend of the year.
Wegmans considers it a holiday. It's as busy as their top holiday weekends.
Yeah, they did something really, really cute on Friday. Just a couple of days ago, they decided to take the Wineglass Marathon logo that we have, that is sort of a medallion that with the race date around it, and put it on cookies. And there was a line of 50 people waiting for cookies with the logo. So that's the kind of thing we love to see, is for businesses to really take advantage of the people that we're bringing them.
And embrace the race and the race weekend, and what the runners really anticipate, what the runners are looking for. And Wegmans definitely did that with the cookies.
Yeah, they are busy right now making pizzas. So they provide a lot of the finish line food, soup, pizza, cookies, bagels. So it is a very, very busy weekend there. If you think about a store like that having to, feed 5,000 or 6,000 people.
They also, this year, when we talk about the feedback and taking the feedback, we've added a gluten-free and vegetarian chili at the finish line. We've always been known for our Wegmans hot chicken noodle soup, and today with the cooler temps, I'm sure they're going to be thrilled to have something warm at the finish line, the soup. But to give those folks that prefer to eat gluten-free or vegetarian, we added the chili, and look forward to seeing how that is received.
The other thing with this cool weather and probably some pretty fast times that we're going to see today, runners are going to find they need some pretty good stretching help. And Arnott Health, which is the presenting sponsor of the fall, we're trying something bigger and better this year with a tent that's double the size we've had in the past. I think we have 24 physical therapists and 4 massage therapists there, ready to help give these runners a stretch after they finish. So, we partner in so many different ways.
We also added this year a PR bell that Excelis sponsored, and that's going to be down past the finish line chute. And if you PR'd or got your Boston Pop, you can ring that bell. So I anticipate with the cooler temps, we'll be hearing the bell throughout the day, which hopefully will be fun for the runners finishing and being greeted with the bell and the opportunity to ring it to celebrate their finish times.
It's very obvious that when you guys plan each year, you're looking out for the participants, you're looking out for the runners.
The runner, it takes months and months to train, and whatever the reason that brings a runner to the start line, whether it's their first time and it's on their bucket list and they just want to check it off, or to celebrate surviving cancer, or a means to get through a divorce, or a way to lose weight, or to support losing weight. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a reason for being there. But what they've all done is put in months and months of time on their feet, training, time away from potentially their families and friends, to dedicated to whatever their goal is, whether it's that Boston qualifier or just getting across the finish line. And it's our job, and we take it serious to make them successful and help them be successul.
And here's a picture of that finish line.
Yep, this is where I spend
The
16
day.
hours of my day, and there are actually a lot of logistics that go into laying out this finish line. You'll see there are kind of, well, you may not see too clearly, but we have a really highly restricted zone right after the finish line. And that's where our medical tent is, because we do have a fair number of runners who especially will push those last, couple of blocks of Market Street, and they need some help when they cross. So, we consciously keep anybody out of that area who doesn't need to be in that area so that we can get to runners quickly.
And our winner is Tim Chichester, and setting a new course record.
2 hours, 20 minutes, 19.19 seconds, and that breaks the record back in 1997.
Good 2 minutes. A pretty awesome race and day.
That was one of my goals. I wanted to break the course record and win the race. I was trying to shoot for a 2:19, but I came through the half in 2:10, and I was already having some stomach issues. So I had no idea what my pace was the rest of the race. I just kind of went on my feelings, and I went faster than I thought I was. So I'm very happy with that. It feels really good, especially because I'm local to the area. And I live 30 minutes down the road in Horn now, so it's really nice to have a marathon record near my hometown.
Tim's actually a teacher and had some of his students and teammates out cheering him on. Here comes our lead. Here comes our lead female.
And it is Marina Orson.
First for the women.
And her time is 2 hours, 46 minutes, 43.40 seconds. She's from Shavertown, Pennsylvania.
And
she was having some IT cramping muscles issues. Then I think if we go back, we mentioned it a couple times. You could see a few points in the race where she looked like she was struggling with that, but she persevered and had a great time.
Now, she won the half marathon 2 years ago, but this is her first ever try at the full marathon here in Corning, but she's been in 6 other full marathons in the past.
I knew there was a shot if I ran a good race, but I wasn't really sure coming in who was going to be here, and I won the half 2 years ago, so I'm like, oh, that'd be nice to win the half and then come back and win the marathon. I could feel everything tightening up from about like mile 18 on, but I was like, all right, just get to the finish line, then you can fall over, then you don't have to run anymore. But it just kind of all came to culmination once I got over the finish line.
Here is one of our 3 proposals.
And all successful proposals?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
We did wait to announce them to the crowd till she actually accepted. But once she accepted, we made the announcement. I think we've had a proposal at the finish line every year. Sometimes we know ahead of time. This one we knew was coming. Sometimes it's just spontaneous. So.
Oh, that's Stephen, and he was a dear reaching out to us, and he was so excited about this. He ran the half, and she ran the full, and his family was there greeting, and he really had it planned out.
There's all your water bottle we were talking about.
Yes.
A lot of water.
And the silver blankets or heat sheets, Mylar blankets, and they are very much needed on a day like today where they're finishing and they're a little cooler.
Another successful year, the 36th annual Wineglass Marathon. Thanks for joining us on the 36th annual Wineglass Marathon coverage. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we'll see you next year.